All right, so let's do this. Record this computer.
Recording in progress.
All right, sweet. So what we'll be talking about today is everything about thyroid. So one thing I want you to know is that thyroid is a hormone, and just like any other hormone, it's a chemical message. So this isn't to get complex, but let's understand this. So theoretically, if you're dealing with a hormonal issue, that means there's an environmental thing going on, whether it be hypothyroidism or Hashimoto's. You came in dealing with one or the other, or you're just dealing with normal thyroid symptoms like brain fog, weight gain in the midsection, insomnia, anxiety, depression, hair falling out. And there's many other things that can actually influence with your thyroid. But really, I want to talk about this in depth because really you're about to see a presentation or you're going to learn some things today that you're able to take for the rest of your life. You're able to take and help someone that may have a thyroid issue too, because you're actually understanding not just the physiology, but the actual why behind what's going on specifically. So what I'll do then is get into it now. So really, we're going to talk about just in this portion, really what the thyroid is, the purpose, and just everything in terms of it. So it isn't really to educate, but more empower. A little bit educate, yes, but empower you in terms of it. So for some reason, that's weird. But what we'll do here is obviously when we look at the thyroid, it's something obviously pretty simple when you look at it. Obviously, it's a butterfly shaped gland sitting right below your Adam's apple and then right above your collarbone. So you can probably touch your thyroid right now. And people might touch it and feel nodules sometimes. So that's a problem too, usually iodine deficiency. Obviously, it does make, it's rich in blood vessels, brownish red color, and it releases hormones. It releases thyroid hormone, T4, T3, and different all other hormones. So when we look at things here, so your body has, I should say, your brain has hypothalamus. So your brain releases something called TRH, which we like to call, I just call thyroid releasing hormone, which it's really called thyrotropin releasing hormone. And it signals to your thyroid gland to make, or I should say, it signals to your pituitary to make TSH. So when you're getting that TSH reading, that's pretty much showing us like how much thyroid or how much the pituitary can actually hear the thyroid. So when people are dealing with a high TSH and hypothyroidism, really what the body is telling us is that, hey, there's a lot of stress in my life. So now my pituitary is going crazy, so to say in quotations, or in whatever you call it, to why it's elevated. So then TSH releases down to your thyroid to make thyroid hormone. And really what happens is high level is that your body makes a majority of it T4. So your body from TRH, from your hypothalamus, releases to your pituitary to make TSH, and then TSH is then produced or gets converted into thyroid, and then your thyroid basically makes a majority of it T4. So what does this actually mean for you? So when you are taking thyroid medication, you're taking Synthroid, you're taking levothyroxine, you're dealing with thyroid symptoms, you have to understand that just taking thyroid hormone may not help solve what is the root cause to why you need the thyroid medication. Because what happens is that every single time you're taking thyroid medication, you're primarily taking that levothyroxine or Synthroid, and that has to convert into the active form T3. So your body makes thyroid hormone from the pituitary because your pituitary releases TSH, and TSH then goes to your thyroid to make majority of it T4, and then a little bit of T3. And then whatever doesn't get made, or I should say when you're severely stressed out, it gets converted into something called reverse T3. That's an inactive form of thyroid hormone. Now, these markers that I'm speaking about, your doctor is not running. Doctors are not running. Maybe you will get this if you get lucky or you see an endocrinologist that is running this. Regardless, if you do not test this, then you don't know what's going on. And what's happening is that you're just getting your TSH tested, but that doesn't tell us anything. That literally tells us one small piece of the puzzle that's shown right here. It's literally just telling us one piece of the puzzle. It's not telling us what's going on actually at the cellular level, what's going on at the receptor sites of your blood volume of what's going on. So that's something that we should talk about. So as T3 and T4 circulate, they exert negative feedback to the hypothalamus and pituitary. So remember that your body releases these hormones and then it circles back together. So that's something called a negative feedback loop. It's like a circle that goes around and around. Why is this prevalent for you? Because if you're going to continue to live that stressful lifestyle where you yo-yo diet, you undereat, you don't train, you overtrain, you are filling your body with pro-inflammatory foods, food sensitivities, then this is going to lead to an environment to where your body's going to have this stress state, even immunologically. So let's say if you already have Hashimoto's, then it's going to deal with that too. So we have to get these things under control. So what really happens? So your hypothalamus releases TRH to your pituitary. Your pituitary then releases TSH to your thyroid gland, and then majority of it is T4 is made, and then a little bit of T3 is made. Then your body goes back to homeostasis. This is really like, not educating you on what the actual physiology of it is, but just showing you how the body actually works. Because if you understand how it works, then you can understand how to fix it. If you understand how to fix it, you know how to get rid of your symptoms. So that's important. So when we look at it, the thyroid talks to every cell in the body. What does this actually mean? So when your body has T3 coming out, then what happens then is it signals to every single cell inside your body. So with people with thyroid issues, which about 60% of people have, they're dealing with sluggish digestion. So they're dealing with constipation, bloating, they're dealing with hair loss, they're dealing with weight gain, they're dealing with all these symptoms because your thyroid speaks to every cell inside your body. So here's actually something else too. So usually females with thyroid issues will have PMS, maybe a missed period, irregular periods, or so to say. And that's because your thyroid heavily influences your progesterone levels. So when a female has low progesterone, that's typically when those symptoms occur. And so when you have low thyroid function, they go hand in hand. So a big thing too is that endocrinologists and gynecologists are not going to talk to each other about this, yet alone your PCP, which is your primary care physician. Because what we need to understand is that, yes, there's things wrong with that image in terms of it being overlaid, but your body is working in unison. So here's the thing though. If I just give my body thyroid hormone and I flood it with thyroid hormone, that doesn't fix anything. That's still going to cause many symptoms because yet you're still taking medication, you still have symptoms. So what you got to really do is fix everything in totality of what's going on inside your body: inflammation, blood sugar imbalance, nutrient deficiencies, toxicity, insulin resistance, that really help with improving the body in whole. So I want to show you some thyroid lab reference ranges. Now remember, everything I'm showing you is for educational and informative purposes only. I had to put that there. So with that being said though, so when we look at lab markers, we look at the clinical reference and we look at the functionally optimal ranges. What does this mean for you? What happens is that when your labs are normal, but you still deal with weight gain, fatigue, and all the symptoms, it's because your endocrinologist or whomever is getting the values from the clinical reference range. But that's not the optimal range. So hopefully you understand. You have in range and then you have the optimal range. Optimal range is where you feel good, you feel something. So what I see all the time is that usually with hypothyroidism, your TSH is jacked up. Even with Hashimoto's, it can be as well. But what does it look like? So we have 0.3 to 4.2 milliliters. And then we have PGML. And then nanograms per deciliter. So the thing though is that to understand that every single office, I should say, different types of lab companies will use different reference ranges. But when we look at the broad of it, typically some reference ranges are fine in terms of like how much T3 the body is making or free T3 the body's making. But here's what we want. So functionally, I would want someone at a 1.0 to a 2.0 ml. So really showing us like that your thyroid is right where we want it to be. It's not too high and it's not low, but really it's not too high. So you're not dealing with any hypothyroidism because your body doesn't need to make more TSH because your body has suffice T3. So your brain isn't calling for more, or I should say your thyroid's not calling your brain for more hormone. T3 though. So when someone is dealing with hypothyroidism, what's happening is that usually their T3 levels are low. So what then happens then is that, did you say there's an audio issue? Here, I'll say. Just comment if there is, or on there. But what I'd say is that with people with hypothyroidism or someone who's dealing with low energy, fatigue, all those symptoms, they will have low T3. So low T3 would be the main symptom, or I should say not symptom, but root cause of having those symptoms. And it's unfortunate because, like I had mentioned, what happens though is when you're not feeling well, you're dealing with weight gain, you're dealing with weight loss resistance, the only thing that let's say your endocrinologist, your primary care physician is going to pull is just that TSH marker. Now, I want to talk to you though about markers in general. When we are looking at thyroid markers or we're looking at hormone markers, that still doesn't help us with actually fixing what the root cause is. Yes, that might sound crazy, but what I'm trying to say is that it helps us identify what's actually going on. But truly, us looking at a marker that says, okay, this person's dealing with high TSH, you're dealing with a high TSH, or you have hypothyroidism. What that really is telling us is that there's something going on internally that's causing that. So this is the ideology behind that, why I do some of the functional lab testing. And it's different than just getting standardized blood work. This isn't a devalue standardized blood work because I still use it all the time and it's very useful. But the thing is that if someone already has Hashimoto's or if someone already has hypothyroidism, why in the world will I test those numbers if we already know? What I'd rather do is actually test the things that are the causes to that. What are the main causes? Well, we'll start with hypothyroidism. When you're dealing with hypothyroidism, you have high TSH, low T3, maybe low T4. People actually sometimes have normal T4, but yet they give them T4 medication. That's a whole different story. But what could be happening in those cases is that there could be some type of infection, like a gut dysbiosis, or some type of nutrient deficiency, or some type of adrenal dysfunction that's causing that. So I don't need to get a lab value of your thyroid numbers. I'd rather get the values of like what are the potential root causes to that. So hopefully that makes sense. Because if we run like, let's say, a Dutch test, we're going to see that 24-hour cortisol reading. And what I'm seeing a majority of the time is that a female's cortisol is completely tanked. You've been in high cortisol fight or flight for so long that your adrenal function is completely tanked. And so now your body, it can't make hormone. It can't make hormone yet, let alone thyroid hormone. So that's going to be what we need to fix. We don't need to test like a thyroid blood test to show us that. Now, the next thing is that if someone's dealing with Hashimoto's, the top two are some type of, I mean, there's a few different ones, but I like the GI map test. And if you do want to get into some of the toxicity, or if you want to get into the food sensitivity, those are going to be some of the big things too. And so with that being said, when someone's dealing with some type of autoimmune condition, a lot of it obviously resides in the gut. And obviously in terms of like, hey, most people sometimes know that, but maybe you don't. And so what's going on is that when you have, let's say, increased permeability, or you have some type of gut infection, or you have a virus like Epstein-Barr virus or any of those, then that's going to cause you to have inflammation to your thyroid gland and immunological destruction to your thyroid gland. So we want to fix those things first before we're trying to just get these numbers tested right away. So that's the thing about getting thyroid. Because remember, the thyroid's the end user. It's the end product, meaning if you're trying to manipulate the thyroid, you're doing the wrong thing, because they're hormones, they fluctuate, just like your hormones throughout the month cycle. So if you're trying to fix the root cause to what's going on with your hormones, you don't need to manipulate these numbers. You don't want to try to just fix these numbers. You want to fix what causes these numbers to then fluctuate. Okay? That's going to be something profound for us to understand as we move forward, because the future is to become your own doctor, become your own advocate. Okay, so let's talk about it. And then we have obviously your thyroid antibodies, and then your actual iodine serum. All right, so we talk about mild subclinical hypothyroid definition: high TSH, normal free T4. Classic ovarian or hypothyroidism is high TSH, suboptimal free T4. Majority, 99% of T4 in the blood is bound to thyroxine binding globulin, which pretty much is a type of molecule that traps hormone inside your liver. So when someone has liver dysfunction, it actually increases the thyroxine binding globulin, so TBG. So then it traps free hormone. Okay, so let's get into it now. So here's some of the optimal ranges. We want closer to 1. Really, the T3 range, I always like to really reiterate that we want above 3.2. Now let's talk about thyroid dysfunction. So there's a lot of systemic effects of poor thyroid health. Systemic effects meaning like if you're dealing with low thyroid hormone, that's going to show up many different ways. Bone issues, all right, gut health, low thyroid function slows intestinal motility and compromises your ability to absorb nutrients, libido, weight, energy, blood sugar, even your lipid panels, cardiovascular issues, adrenal dysfunction as well, toxic overload, estrogen dominance, brain cognitive issues, and hair loss. So when we talk about hypothyroidism, it is a condition where the thyroid is underactive and not producing adequate amounts of thyroid hormone. This means that T3 and T4 levels are low, slowing down cell communication and processes elsewhere in the body. 12% of the population will develop a thyroid condition. So that means about 60% of people really are dealing with a thyroid issue and don't even know it. Hypothyroidism is the second most common endocrine disruptor affecting women of reproductive ages. The most common cause, though, here's actually something crazy too. About 90% of hypothyroid issues are Hashimoto's. But no one ever knows. Because here's what happens. Here's the origin, as one would say. So you feel like crap, you have weight gain out of nowhere, you have low energy, you have fatigue. So what then happens is you're like, this isn't normal. So you go to your doctor. Your doctor runs your lab panels and they see, oh, they ran some annual or they just ran some generic blood work, and they'll see that your TSH is elevated. So they'll be like, oh, you have hypothyroidism. So what then they'll do is like, we'll put you on levothyroxine. So you take levothyroxine, you're thinking, oh, this is going to be nice. I'm going to lose weight, I'll have more energy, or it's going to get rid of my symptoms. Well, then it doesn't. So then you go back, and then what happens then is that the only suggestion they have is increase. And then you're like, this is not right, because now you're at over 100 milligrams of thyroid medication, levothyroxine or Synthroid, and you still feel like crap. So what's going on now? Well, you try to go get a second opinion, or you go a different route because things aren't working. And then what happens is you see that you have Hashimoto's. You look at your antibodies. Someone finally does a thyroid ultrasound. Someone does TPO antibodies, TGAB. And you're like, wow, I actually have Hashimoto's. Well, now you're thinking like, well, what do I do? And it's actually the same solution as hypothyroidism. Take thyroid medication. Now, that might be useful and helpful, but it still doesn't get to the root cause of why there's an autoimmune issue with your thyroid. It's delirious, ludicrous. So this is a big problem. This is what we call big issues, because what I just stated, that story is most likely every single person that's dealing with that thyroid issue is they're stuck in this thyroid debacle, as one would actually call it. So they're playing catch around, they're playing whatever, but at the end of the day, none of it solves the root cause of why the thyroid is underactive or dealing with an autoimmune attack. And this does not disinclude Hashimoto's, or I should say hyperthyroidism or Graves. This does not disinclude any of those as well. Same goes for that. So what's happening at the end of the day is that no one's truly, it's a runaround. So this is why people have to go to Instagram.com to get help, which is a joke. And this is someone that does that sometimes, or does that, I should say, not sometimes. So I hope this is helpful information for you guys to know, because you might know someone that's dealing with this same exact issue. But understand, thyroid hormone may be very helpful, very much so, for specific people. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, it does not fully correct the root cause. Yes, it may get your, even this too, it might even get your TSH in range. It might get the numbers in range, but you're not feeling good. You don't feel well. So let's get into that. Stress and inflammation. So what is the root cause though? Like what is the root cause to my thyroid in dysfunction? Well, stress can impair thyroid function, and hypothyroidism has been shown when you look at other blood markers. So let's say you are getting your blood work done, you see the hypothyroidism, you're looking at your thyroid numbers and you're like, I have elevated TSH, but a lot of the times you will have C-reactive protein, ESR, and interleukin 6 also elevated. Stress hormone cortisol can block the conversion of T4 to free T3. That's what's happening. You are so stressed out that even taking your thyroid hormone doesn't even work because it's blocking the conversion. The stress hormone is blocking the conversion of you supposed to take the thyroid hormone and convert it into the free hormone, which is T3. Okay. Food intolerances, especially in autoimmune. So you don't even know you have Hashimoto's or you have Hashimoto's. You eat gluten. It's called molecular mimicry. I actually have a slide for that. And it triggers an overactivation of the immune system. Poor gut health. Close to 80% of your immune system is in the gut. So therefore, if you have altered gut health, you're going to have altered immune system. About 20% of T4 conversion is converted into T3 in the gut. Why do we do the GI map test? Why do we do that? Why do we do detox in the beginning? Because this is what it is. Why do we use adrenal support in the beginning? Hopefully it's starting to look at the nutrient insufficiency. Why do we fill your body up with so many nutrients? See, everything plays together now of what we're doing in the beginning. Because remember, like, if you went to go see a normal, I don't want to say normal, but you'll see any practitioner out there, they're going to give you some, thyroid supplement, maybe give you some vitamin D, maybe some zinc, and then you're on your way. Maybe you'll do a test too. But no, your body is a dynamic system. It works. There's a ton of things at play. Remember, I say it all the time, inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning. So inductively, I have low thyroid, so I'm going to give myself thyroid supplements or thyroid hormone. Hell, even both. No, deductively, my thyroid is low. So what are all the things that cause a low thyroid? Well, stress and inflammation, poor gut health, nutrient insufficiency, I guess not having a thyroid, menopausal issues, pregnancy, other medications. Okay, so you want to fix those things first before you just jump to thyroid medication. Okay, hyperthyroidism is a condition where the thyroid is overactive. So T3 and T4 are high, causing accelerated metabolism, which would be nice sometimes, right? Unintentional weight loss, which would be even better. But it is a serious thing because a lot of people actually do deal with hyperthyroidism. Also, another way is Graves. So common symptoms, as located here on the right, kind of a little bit opposite sometimes of what hypothyroidism would show. So a big thing too is we want to find the why. And so it all depends on the scenario of where the individual is coming from to actually get a reading. But what we'd like to do is just go to the underlying causes. Okay, what are the underlying causes? Gut infections, inflammation, toxicity, stress. Okay, those are going to be some of the biggest things. Now, I have foods located here, but I don't want to get into that right now. It's that's something I can just put in the group chat, truthfully. We'll talk about that. I want to talk about this here. So studies show that periods and starvation, that response. So when you're eating a caloric deficit severely, your body is dealing with low, or it's going to deal with, when you're in a caloric deficit, you're under eating calories significantly. It's going to decrease your active T3 hormone because it's a form of stress. When you are overtraining, or I should say under eating, that is a form of stress. That form of stress now depletes your thyroid hormone, your thyroid function. Okay, so what does that mean also for you? Well, here's the thing. You're trying to lose weight. You're sick of the midsection belly fat. You're sick of it. You wish you could just cut it off. Some might. But here's what's going on. When you continue to keep doing this low calorie eating, you have to really focus on, where are my stress levels at? It's almost like a bucket. I think a good terminology is a bucket. So you have so many stress coins in your life. stress coins, or what we want to call them. And what that means is that you can only, let's say you can only spend 4 stress coins. What many people are doing are trying to spend 10 stress coins a day. They're trying to eat in a caloric deficit. They're trying to work 12 hours a day. They're trying to take everyone and make everyone else happy. They're trying to be a people pleaser. They're trying to be that type A person that they are. So what happens? You've just spent all your stress coins. So what then happens is that your body is like, all right, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm done. So how does that show up? Weight gain out of nowhere. Immense fatigue and brain fog. Poor memory. Insomnia. Depression. Anxiety. Your body doesn't hate you. It's actually trying to help you. Because what happens now is that you just left homeostasis. And I say this because I've helped people with thyroid issues all the time get off thyroid medication, like so confidently have said and done that so many times. It's pretty profound. So hopefully that part was helpful for you. Years of undereating and overtraining. We look at it in a broad scheme. So poor thyroid function is a symptom of underlying factors: autoimmunity, stress, infection, inflammation. Undereating, overtraining equals chronic stress, adrenal fatigue, adrenal overload, fatigue, stress. All these things are going on with the average individual. Blood sugar issues, impaired metabolism, liver dysfunction. Everyone says your liver can detox just fine. That's false. Dysbiosis, fungus, yeast, leaky gut, food sensitivities. All of it. And just so you know, not theoretical, all referenced right here. All right, let's talk about the 5 types of thyroid issues that people deal with. So we have different camps of people. So we have people that don't even know they have a thyroid issue. We have people that have a thyroid issue. We have people that have an autoimmune thyroid issue. And no one knows what to do about it. But yet, that's what I fix every single day here. So we have autoimmune Hashimoto's thyroiditis, an autoimmune condition where the immune system mistakes part of your body as a threat and ends up attacking itself. This is the case for the thyroid. Okay, thyroid is not the source of the problem, but is the victim of the immune attack. To diagnose TPO, thyroid peroxidase antibodies, and TGAB, thyroglobulin antibodies must be run. Autoimmune diseases have an active and dormant state. Okay, thyroid resistance. This one's a sleeper. So what does that mean? Thyroid resistance. That means your body makes adequate levels of thyroid hormone. Like on paper, your thyroid levels are actually A1. Like they're good. But what's happening at the cellular site, due to inflammation and toxicity, it can't get inside your body's cells to perform its physiological function. How can you actually, is this actually true? Well, here's what they're saying. When you have high CRP, C-reactive protein, or you have high reverse T3, those are all signs that your body's in a stressed and inflamed state. So what does that mean? Well, if your body has adequate, and here's the thing, if you're only getting tested T3, TSH, T4, then you're not getting when we're talking about the full picture, you need to look at the full picture. I mean, that's why I like running the female fat loss panel, which is a blood test. It's a blood test that's going to tell me full thyroid levels, TPO, T4, T3, TSH, but it's also going to show me C-reactive protein, reverse T3, A1C, fasted glucose, insulin levels, cortisol. I'm trying to think of there was and vitamin D, which is actually very important. You're going to actually see that when we talk about autoimmunity, though. So anyway, so you want to test these markers because that's going to lead to cellular thyroid resistance. And I mean, it's happening to everyone. Actually, this is why you take supplements too, and you still don't feel better because you have thyroid resistance. Your thyroid can't hear the message of what's going on. Elevated thyroid binding globulin. What happens here? Well, let's actually back it up here. So what's happening is that um, you have high estrogen because you have took either birth control, you have high estrogen because you have insulin resistance, which leads to aromatization. You have high estrogen because you have endocrine disrupting chemicals in your environment. You have unstable blood sugar levels, which also leads to aromatization. So this high estrogen levels that also lead to your PMS, your PMDD, your midsection weight, also leads to low thyroid hormone because it increases thyroid binding globulin, which traps free T3, which is your actual metabolic active thyroid hormone. Hopefully that made sense. So let's rewind. The main cause of having elevated thyroid binding globulin is having high estrogen. The reason why you have high estrogen is because maybe you have excess adipose tissue, you have inflammation, you have toxicity, but then lots of PCPs do not check these labs. How can someone ask to be checked? Well, you can ask them. Thank you for the question, by the way. So you can ask your primary care physician for these labs, but a lot of times the reason why they actually don't want to run them is because it's not going to get properly billed by insurance, so they're not going to get a return on their investment. Because remember, it's a business too. So and so what that means is that they're looking to get paid. So they're not going to get paid by running a T3 reading or a TGB reading or a TBG reading. They're not going to get paid from that. They're going to get paid by a TSH reading because in actual doctorates of literature, and I would know this because I worked in the sick care system, is that you actually can't the actual evaluation of TSH is actually how you diagnose a thyroid condition. So actually, in conventional Western medicine, how you would diagnose someone with a thyroid condition is only solely on TSH. That's how you diagnose people with a thyroid condition. So everything I'm saying, I could totally get backlashed by the medical or by someone who's in let's say a nurse practitioner, let's say a PCP or whatever. Like I could totally, and they would be correct in terms of like what the actual literature says. But the interesting fact is that what about low estrogen with thyroiditis and insulin resistance? That's a great one. So that's a great question right there. That's perimenopause or menopause with Hashimoto's, immunological issues, and inflammation and toxicity that's driving up the blood sugar levels that then leads to insulin resistance. I help with that very, very well. So I will get back into this, but that's a great question. I could get into that here after this. But thyroid binding globulin, high estrogen, main cause. So when you support that estrogen, that's going to be very good. So hypothyroidism secondary to pituitary hypofunction. Okay, so the HPT axis, that's your hypothalamus pituitary thyroid axis, malfunction where the brain thyroid communication is not happening. Okay, there's too much stress going on in your life, so the signals are miscued. So what we need to do is focus on getting your stress down, your pituitary more manageable. Thyroid underconversion. This is the sleeper too. This is a big one. Some people's thyroid issues could be as easy as getting in enough iodine, tyrosine, selenium. Literally, people with thyroid nodules those are caused by too low of iodine. So many people can fix their weight gain and their weight loss resistance and their fatigue and their brain fog and their insomnia, their depression, their anxiety by literally just getting enough nutrients that support your thyroid. Because when we talk about, like, when I'm talking about surface level stuff, so if we want to get real here, and that's fine, because I'm going to keep it real, is that when you talk about like someone marketing on the internet, when we talk about someone marketing on the internet, they will say surface level weight gain, fatigue, insomnia, depression. Who does that sound like? Oh, sounds like someone I know. Anyway, so what's actually happening though is that you have low thyroid hormone. So the reason why you have low thyroid hormone and you have these symptoms as described above is nutrient deficiencies. It can be as simple as that. Toxicity, autoimmune conditions, inflammation. So it's like there's levels to this, and the more you can unpack, the more well you'd be. But anyway, when you use Thyroid Boost, or use GTA Forte, Metabolism Booster Max, Metabolism Boost, it has all these cofactor minerals that support this thyroid conversion, as shown here, and you support it with herbal adrenocortices, it does that. And just the way you eat. So the role of iodine and tyrosine. Okay, so I'm not going to get into molecular structure here, but this is something that's pretty prevalent. Iodine deficiency. So how does that actually happen though? Because majority of people, especially if you're in the Midwest, that's me, I'm in Minnesota, like the soil is deprived of iodine. So what I do is I have iodine salt. So not telling you to have iodine salt, but that's what I do specifically for myself. And I've also tested my iodine levels. So with that being said, what causes you to have low iodine that then causes you to have low thyroid, which then causes you to have weight gain, brain fog, fatigue, weight loss resistance? Fluoride from the water, tap water. Maybe you're a female that is using a lot of iodine at one point for thyroid, because as a female, you need more iodine than males because you need it for your breast and your ovaries. A male just needs iodine for thyroid. Okay. So the thing is that you want to make sure your antibodies are in check when you're taking iodine. You don't just want to take it blatantly. Yeah, that's gonna be a big thing. Graves' disease. Graves' disease is hyperthyroidism too. Overproduction of thyroid hormone. It can lead to a lot of things, a lot of weight loss, rapid heartbeats, heart palpitations, those type of deals. So knowing the difference here shown in this image will be pretty suffice. Hashimoto's thyroid toxics. In Hashimoto's, when thyroid cells are destroyed, the hormones those cells were storing are released into circulation. This thyroid toxis causes a toxic level of thyroid hormone in the body. Okay. So the immune system attacks the thyroid gland. Damaged thyroid cells released into the circulation, causing hyperthyroidism. The thyroid hormones cleared out in the blood, causing hypo. Okay. So what does this mean? So thyroid toxic. What I'm trying to explain here is that so many females dealing with Hashimoto's are going from hyperthyroid symptoms to hypothyroid symptoms. Why is that happening? First step is the immune system is mistakenly attacking your thyroid gland. That's what's happening in Hashimoto's. So damaged thyroid cells then get released into your bloodstream, okay? And once that thyroid hormone is then cleared out of those toxic cells that were then destroyed by the immune system, it can leave you to have a hypothyroid state because now you have a damaged thyroid that's underperforming. Okay, so it's upregulated, now it's low. Okay. Molecular mimicry. Gluten affects many people with thyroid and autoimmune issues, not just people with celiac disease. And that's a whole different topic. I actually read it in a great book. What does that mean? So many people deal with something called non-celiac gluten sensitivity. And while doctors don't talk about this, heck, even health coaches, nutritionists, fitness coaches, what's happening is that you actually have a gluten sensitivity and nobody even told you. Nobody told you. That's why I love, at first, biohacking my nutrition, your nutrition, in terms of like, hey, let's cut out gluten real quick, and then let's see what happens when you introduce it or not. You know, what happens? Is there anything that happens? Sometimes not anything happens. Sometimes stuff happens, more fatigue, brain fog, and so forth. So that's going to be pretty sure right there. So is there any questions that you have there? Yeah, what I'd say is that, so I've helped people with hypothyroidism, Hashimoto's, literally so many thyroid issues. And it's very complex though when you look at everything. How long should one cut gluten out to test it? I would say about, it's kind of hard, I know. I mean, you could do 4 weeks if you want a really good baseline. I mean, if you want to try it a week, That'd be pretty good. The thing about trying to eliminate gluten is that many people are going to eliminate gluten. They're like, oh, wow, I lost weight. But it's because they started cutting out more carbohydrates in their diet. Um, I'd say a week to 4 weeks. I would say the top tier would be 4 weeks. Heck, even 3 weeks would be just fine to figure out, hey, do I have a gluten sensitivity? What's going on? A big thing, too, I see all the time um, with people with food sensitivities is, well, that would be a food intolerance, but that would be dairy. Many people lack the enzyme lactase that actually break down dairy. It'd be a big thing. Um, Another big thing top of mind here is, uh, gee, if there's anything else, just thinking off the top of my head here. Like I said, your body's working in a negative feedback loop. So if you're dealing with a lot of stress, then it's going to pass down to other areas inside your body. But anyway, if there's any more questions, just let me know. I know I got that going here. Let's see. No more there, so we'll put that there. So I can pull up some questions too that most people do ask me. So I like to keep that there. Okay. Okay. So a lot of times people are asking, why am I gaining weight even though I barely eat? Well, that's what's happening with thyroid issues. Like, because your body is in a very stressed state. It's in a resourceful state. So what's happening is that you don't eat, so it increases your thyroid, or my apologies, it increases your cortisol function. And now that cortisol function most likely has also hijacked your insulin hormone, but it also has decreased your thyroid hormone. So what does this mean? So what I'm about to say here, I need if you want to lose weight, it's going to help you take notes. So you too, Grizel. So when we look at metabolism, it's broken up to a few different things. Metabolism. What is metabolism? It's the chemical process of taking a substance and metabolizing it, burning it into something else. Metabolization. So your metabolism is made up of four different things, truthfully. Your basal metabolic rate, your thermal effect of food, your exercise expenditure, and your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So what does that even mean? So the main thing of what is your metabolism is your basal metabolic rate. That means how many calories you're burning at rest. Me sitting here right now, I burn a specific amount of calories, me, myself, and I. You sitting down watching this or not are burning a specific amount of calories. And throughout the day, that's about 60% of the calories you burn. It's just you living, sleeping, and just sitting there. Then you have your exercise activity thermogenesis. That's how many calories you burn while doing exercise. I'm going on a run, I'm doing training, even a walk. That's about 10%. About 15% of your metabolism too is the third, which is the thermal effect of food. That's how many calories you're burning while ingesting and digesting food. The highest thermal effect of food, which is about 30%, is protein. Protein. So when you eat more protein, you have a higher thermal effect of food. You're burning more calories just ingesting protein. Now, what is the last one? Your NEAT, which only is 10%, but makes out a lot. Your NEAT is, like I had mentioned before, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. That is how many calories you're burning while fidgeting, walking, or whatever. So me going like this the whole time, that's actually burning calories. So you doing these non-conscious movements, I should say, you're unconscious. Like you're not really aware of what's truthfully going on. Or you're not really thinking of like, I'm not thinking about turning my hands like this. You're burning calories to do so. So with that being said, your metabolism is made up of those things, but what are the main things that drive that? That's what we want to optimize because that's the um, thing that's going to help you lose weight. That's what you want. You want to lose weight. So what's happening? What's actually happening, and actually at a consult today, is that I talked to this female. She wanted to get on like a GLP-1 or something. And I actually suggested not to and first do this, but she was really determined to. And I have the telehealth clinic. And we're solid though, because she's already on the things and she's getting the results too. So we wanted to excel that. So what we were thinking of is using something to help with that non-exercise activity thermogenesis. We want to get more movement throughout the day to burn calories. So when we start doing that, a lot of the times, if you unconsciously start doing a lot of things throughout the day that you don't know, like more fidgeting, taking more steps, like walking upstairs, parking further away to the grocery store, to your job site, whatever, that helps you burn more calories. Okay. Well, hopefully that was helpful. Anyway, I know that's a little bit in advance, but big thing. So my doctor said my thyroid labs are normal, so why do I feel like crap? Well, it's because you have thyroid resistance. As spoken about before, your body does make enough thyroid hormones. So on paper, you do have adequate thyroid levels. But what's happening is that it's not actually getting inside the body's cells to perform its physiological function. What's the difference between hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's? With hypothyroidism, your body typically has low T3, maybe adequate T4, but usually high TSH. So the body doesn't have enough thyroid hormone for your cells. Hashimoto's is autoimmune attack to your thyroid gland that causes a wide range of issues. Can stress and trauma really affect my thyroid? Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially trauma. You don't even know how many females come to me every single day and they're dealing with past traumatic experiences that manifested into Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid issue, an autoimmune issue. Low dose naltrexone. That's why I use my Vital Medical Clinic. Actually, a big reason why I get some of the results is we actually use advanced therapies that Western conventional medicine, your doctor, your nutritionist, your personal trainer is not using. Because what they're using is for you to count your calories and train. Which actually, initially, I don't actually like my clients training because we need to deload that stress. We need to get cortisol levels down. You know, Griselle knows that. But anyway, what we want to do then is really help with that trauma you might deal with. Does this cause the Cushing's disease too? Trauma is what you're saying, or stress? Well, I mean, Cushing's disease, that means that you have I don't know. I know it's Addison's or Cushing's, and one of them is Cushing's is too low of cortisol, I think, but maybe that might have been Addison's disease. Cushing's disease, I think, is too high, but I'm gonna take a look here. But anyway, yes, trauma, because your body's like in this fight or flight state to where like it can't really like calm down, like your nervous system just can't calm down. So good deal there. So why does no one talk about T3 and reverse T3? Well, um, you know, I think a big thing is that most people are not even aware that actual T3 is like the hormone that makes the thyroid hormone, or the hormone that is like the most metabolically active thyroid hormone. And then another thing is that like, why does no one talk about reverse T3? Well, actually, no one tests for reverse T3. And nobody understands that if your body, just because your body, let's just say after, your body puts the hormone you're not using somewhere. So where's it put it? It puts it in reverse T3. Okay. So what labs should I actually be running to understand my thyroid? So going to my point before, what labs should I get to understand what's going on in my thyroid? Well, you want TSH, free T4, free T3. You want TPO, TJAB, iodine, TPO, even TGB. Those are going to be by far the best numbers to get of what's going on with your thyroid. Now, just getting those numbers are not going to fix anything, truthfully. It's just going to tell you what's going on. But it's not going to tell you like what I need to fix to actually fully heal. Okay. So what is the functional medicine approach? Actually, what is the complete vitality approach to reversing thyroid issues? Well, that's a different time. That's a question for a different time. But is there any more questions in the chat? Grisel, you got any questions? I don't know. Hopefully this is still helpful for you. Just trying to understand more with the pharmacology too. Because I'm about to shut this thing down because I got a lot more stuff to go through here. So anyway, yes, yeah. If you need help, chat. You guys need help, let me know. I get results. If one has Hashimoto's thyroiditis, so if they get their period back, if they haven't had one in a few years, most definitely, wholeheartedly correct. You can. A lot of that comes from B.23, getting back your hormone balance. So if you aren't having a cycle or you're having low estrogen, I think as you mentioned before, your body doesn't have enough hormone to have a proper ovulation because it's so stressed out, you're inflamed, or so forth. So what you got to do is you first have to deload all the stress in your life, make sure you're getting enough micronutrients too and macronutrients, and maybe use some hormonal support. But let's say that you're in your later 40s or you're in your 50s and you're still dealing with this. Then I would definitely say bioidentical hormone maybe is something that you could look into. And yes, it does solve the root cause of why you don't have a period, because the root cause of a female in menopause and why she has no hormone is because the ovaries have shut down. So this is really what's happening. So 35 years old, what's happening is that you're stressed, you're inflamed, and that's leading you to have those menopausal symptoms at 35 years old. That's what's going on. It's okay though. That's totally fixable though. And you don't have to use bioidentical hormone at that point either, I should say. At that point, you can use natural modalities to get that up. But I'm just saying, if you're someone who's like, let's say 15 years old than that, or 20 years old than that, then yes, using hormone therapy will be beneficial. That's why I have my own clinic with that. Anyway, I want to talk about peptides. So I have this client case here. This female, she has tons of gut issues, nervous system dysregulation, low dose naltrexone, oral BPC 157, KPV11. Those are going to be the top peptides I'm about to use on her. She's going to get the results. Also did a food sensitivity test and a GI map test, so we'll get the results from there. But anyway, a big thing too is that what I do is more advanced than just straight up functional medicine, because functional medicine is going to look at a diagnosis, and then they're going to look at natural ways to support the diagnosis. What we're going to do is we're going to actually figure out what the diagnosis is, what are the symptoms, what are you struggling with, and actually come up with a holistic way on how we can solve it. Okay? And that's important because this is how we do it. This is how we get results. So, yeah, if you want more info about my coaching or you watch this whole thing in totality, yeah, just let me know so we can do that. So, Grisel, hopefully you're doing well. And thanks for tuning in to this portion. I think a big thing too is a lot of it comes from restoring your immune system, getting stress under control, and all of that. Now, it may sound ABC at the end of the day, but I think it's not that. It's terms of like, do you answer DMs? Yes, I always answer my DMs. I'll have an assistant sometimes help me, but you usually will get a voice message too. You'll hear from me. I'm always in there too. So yeah, I'm hustling. So if you have any questions, just please DM me. I help heavily with that. So yeah. We announced the scholarship winner today. That was Anna Cortez. She won the full ride scholarship. But hey, if you're watching this and you want the replay and you want a partial scholarship, let me know. I got you. We'll see what we can do though. I know I had a lot of inquiries. So I just want to see what I can do to help you guys out, help you ladies out, help anyone out. But if you have any questions, please give me a DM. I want to get you the results. Hey, that's what I do every day. Don't got much of a life. So that's good though. It helps me out, help you. So what we need to do though is go to my website, completevitalitylife.com. Check out get on my Facebook too. Facebook is pretty good. My YouTube, follow me on YouTube. It's Diego Reyes04. So if you don't follow me on YouTube, please go do so. It helps me out. I actually got more personal stuff in there too, just like day in the life, a lot of my lifting stuff is I kind of lift, but I know you can't see. I got the Tommy Hilfiger, but anyway. So let me know, and then let me know what content you want to see posted because I always like content ideas. Like if you give me a content idea, I'm gonna make content on that. So that's all I got to say about that. Like if you have burning questions and you hit me with like 40 questions in the DM box, I will answer all of them. I will answer all of them because I'm going to do what I can to help. So I'd say the thyroid is pretty passionate to me because, I mean, I've just seen so many people dismissed with thyroid issues. So I just understand it a lot more. Is lifting good to balance hormones? Oh, absolutely, 100%. I recommend every female to lift, everybody to lift. I mean, anybody. I mean, because lifting is going to actually help modulate the immune system. It's going to help with improving insulin levels as well. It's going to improve even thyroid function, the cellular uptake of thyroid cells. And it's also going to improve your mental and emotional health dramatically. It's going to improve your posture dramatically. It's going to do so many benefits, and there's like no downsides. What are the side effects? Nothing. Better mood, better sleep, better drive, better motivation. There's so many benefits to that. But as someone who's helped a lot of people with weight gain, fatigue, insomnia, depression, anxiety, through an actual functional medicine approach, through an actual holistic approach, I have to say using lifting and everything else I do in totality is pretty crazy. Because remember, when someone's working through me, we're kind of doing everything. We're supporting all of that. So yeah. All right then. Well, we'll end that right there. So we'll do that, get that fixed up. You guys have any questions? Let me know. Um, um, so everything I do is virtual, but I'm located in Minnesota. So I'm in Minnesota, like southern area. Yeah, yeah. So everything I do is virtual. So if you have any questions, like I said, please DM me. Actually, I have my phone number out there. Um, so you can always give me a personal text number as well. My phone number is on my website. So if you go to my website, you will see my phone number. And then, yeah, yeah, that should be everything I got for you today. But let me know if you have any questions. Let me know. I'm here for you always. So have a good one.